What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and today we're going to try and do the impossible, which is unpack Age of Mythology at the top level in terms of god strength. Right now, the entirety of the ladder is a mess, and I don't think anybody really truly knows what's strong, what's weak, including myself. In fact, I think that your god doesn't matter so much at the moment that it's pretty much just down to you playing really well up until maybe the top. I would go in so far as to even say the top 4. The level of play can get so high in this game of Age of Mythology, and understanding is everything. Right now, if we take a blanket look at 1600 and above, we'll also take a look at 1650 and above because that's a little bit higher on the ladder. You've got Odin, Thor, Gaia, Uranus, Loki. Where's Kronos in there? Wild. Isis, Set, Kronos, Zeus, Poseidon, Ra, Freyr, Hades. This is the god list. Hades is all the way down here. I just went on a 5-game winning streak with Hades. Hades isn't weak, yet he is at the bottom of this list. Let's take a quick look at what happens when we go up to 1650. And we hit filter. Slowly, if it's going to work, load, damn you. There we go. We hit 1650 and suddenly Odin is 62.50%. Zeus is up here with a crazy win percent. And it's just like, how do you use this data set to really come to any serious conclusions? It's quite challenging. Now let's go to a more wide data set where you can actually see, okay, players are technically playing against players of a similar level. So on a larger kind of scale, you can actually start to get a little bit of a better understanding of how things are looking. As we see Thor, Kronos, Loki, Odin, Uranus, Isis, Gaia. It's completely different. We see a whole bunch of Norse gods sitting at the top here. Now, if I was to do a tier list on my own gods, guess where these Norse gods would be? They'd be right at the bottom. So, how are we going to do this? I think we do this based on where the gods actually are rather than where my gods are. And I'm going to try and go through this and say, look, this is what I think about matchups and things like that. Right now, I think most of the top players are agreeing that this god is actually S tier. Thor, very, very strong. Why is Thor strong right now? Well, he's got a really, really good early game with his dwarf opener. He doesn't have to put pressure onto his opponent. He gets to play reactively. He gets to play defensively. My face is in the way. Thank you for the Twitch stream for telling me to move my face. So let's move my face. So Thor is up here. So he gets all of that early game, gets a huge economic boost of 4 dwarfs over his opponent. He doesn't have any good scouting. That's his big weakness. But guess what? By the time he does get out onto the map and actually figure out what his opponent's doing, it's never too late to react to it. So it's really, really challenging to beat Thor. Now, when I'm saying Thor is an S tier, I've had success against some very strong Thor players already with some gods. And I do think that Thor is beatable. I don't think he is S tier by a 70 to 30 win rate. I don't think it's like that. I think maybe Thor is just that little bit stronger and you just have to play around some of the weaknesses. So lack of scouting is a big weakness. Slow to get going in the early game, though he does have a strong early game in terms of defense. Slow to get going in terms of offense means you can take some liberties with that. And finally, gold does drain really quickly, but he does have that dwarven gold mine to play around. Okay, so I'm putting Thor at the top of this list. Following this, there's a couple of other gods to kind of go through. Now, this is where things get really, really challenging. Gaia and Uranus right now are bugged. And by bugged, I mean they both have got cheaper cavalry upgrades for no good reason. They're not supposed to. They've got half price on their cavalry upgrades for Contarias. And Poseidon's Secret, which is through Thea, is giving a 30% reduction on their Contarias. So they're paying like something crazy like 50 resources for one of the best cavalry units in the game. with that technology. So it's absolutely busted. And if I was to put those if I was to take everything and I would say, look, these gods here are both sitting at S tier as well. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and just say, look, I don't think it's fair to judge a god based on bugs. So I'm going to drop them down to the A tier. At least I'm going to drop Uranus down to the A tier in this spot. He might be, I mean, he's technically an S tier god as well, but I've been seeing him losing as players have started to adapt to how Uranus is played. I'm starting to think that there's some stronger gods than Uranus in a big way. So I'm going to pop him in the A tier for now. And I might change my mind a little bit later. Most Uranus players are going Chaos anyways. Or Hyperion anyways. So you're not really seeing the full impact of what Uranus can do on this patch. If people go to Thea and they make those Contarius out, it's really, really challenging to beat Uranus. Just gonna take a bit of coffee here. Okay. I'm not exactly sure where to put Gaia just yet, so I want to kind of see where I place everyone else. Basically, when I think about a tier list and I think about what the strongest gods are, generally I'm also thinking about what counters those gods. So with Thor here, the two counters that come to mind, in my opinion, against Thor, really big counters, are Ra and Set in this patch. Recently, Ra got a really, really big buff and Set through Tar. And this buff helps the slingers out and makes those slingers into a absolute insane mess that it's really, really hard to beat that army. Insofar that I think this brings both of these gods up to S tier respectively. Now, which god is better? I would argue Set is going to be sitting in a slightly higher place than Ra, and I might even inch this one up into S tier still, just because I think that Set with Vision and Clairvoyance is just so insanely good. Now, weaknesses for these civs, I still think that Greek is a challenging civ for these civs for Set and Ra to play against, though I've been watching some games and I've been playing some games with having some success using this barrack strategy, so maybe it's the case that the Greeks are actually not very good against Egyptian anymore, which would really be a big, big thing. Now, I'm not sure that's the case. I have had success playing Greek myself against Egyptian, as well as playing Egyptian against Greek. So I don't know where to go with that. So I don't know if people are just not quite well versed in the matchup, given that it's very, very different now. So it's really hard to tell. Okay. Let's now look at Isis. Isis is in this weird place where I know in one patch's time, this god is going to get nerfed. And I think this god is going to get nerfed into the ground. There is a public update preview, and Isis is being hit with Thoth, which is basically the god she's going through every single game for significant advantage. She's also getting hit with Ancestors. And when I say Thoth, Meteor as well as Valley of the Kings and Ancestors is getting hit. So right now, Isis is probably sitting in maybe the A tier, but she's about to go all the way down to a D tier god, in my opinion. So A tier because of this but the other thing is, I don't think that this strategy exactly is very good against Uranus. I think Uranus hard counters this. I think Set is more than capable of beating Isis with Horus. I think Ra is more than capable of holding the Isis shenanigans. I also think that Thor is more than capable of holding the Isis shenanigans. So even with Thoth getting beaten down, maybe Isis is actually only in a B tier here. But the question is there any other strategies which Isis can do which are very, very strong? Probably, but we have to wait and see, especially with everything that makes Isis strong getting hit. It's going to be a challenge to really see what's happening. Another god here that I think is very, very strong still is Odin. I think this god is obscene in how good he is. He did recently get a very, very light tap on the wrist with a Great Hunt nerf. I think it was a Great Hunt nerf and a Raven nerf. But I think this god is still S tier. That being said, I do think that Odin's going to have a challenging time against Ra, a challenging time against Set, and a challenging time against Hades, and maybe a challenging time against Zeus, but definitely against Hades, he's going to have a challenging time. So, I don't know. Is he S tier? I'm going to bump him down to A tier just because he's got a fair amount of bad matchups. in the game. Okay. I feel like I'm going to have to readjust this A tier stuff very soon because I'm still seeing some gods here that I think are very, very strong. Frere at the moment, I don't know where to put Frere. I see people playing Frere and I go, my God, that's busted. I see me playing Frere and I go, wow, Frere's terrible. So it's all on me for not really being able to play this god very well. And is Frere better than Odin? Maybe. But I don't know. This is a big question mark god. And I don't know where to put him. So much so that, I mean, I don't think I can put him in front of Isis. So I'm going to pop him here after Isis for the time. You've got a lot of A tier gods. And you know what this means? The more I'm thinking about this, the more I'm going, my God, this game is feeling incredibly balanced in the chaos. Someone says, Don Hardy is saying Freya's in the B tier. But I mean, I'm seeing people play Freya at a really, really high level on some maps. So I don't know. Okay, now comes the Greeks. Are they good? Are they bad? I don't know. They feel good to me. They honestly feel good. Hades has got a terrible win rate at the top of the ladder, but I don't think it's because Hades is bad. I think Hades is perfectly fine. What's happening here? I can't explain it. Like, what is this? Like, where does this god go? I don't know. Kronos. I've seen Chemo playing Kronos to a very, very high level. Kronos really strong, yet Kronos really suffering on the ladder in terms of win rate. Where does he go? I don't know. This is the problem with this tier list at the moment. Honestly, this is the problem. I got no idea. And I think that part of the reason I've got no idea is that, you know, the game's actually quite balanced. And so we'll have to wait and see. So my feelings right now is that Hades is beating Freyr. Hades is beating Thor. Hades is beating Odin. Hades is beating Uranus. Hades is beating Ra. Hades is losing to Isis and Set. Hades is losing to Poseidon and Zeus. Hades is possibly losing to Gaia at the moment. And potentially beating Kronos. And probably beating Loki as well. So let's put Hades sitting in the B tier above Freyr, just because I think he's really, really good. The next one that I'm confused about is Zeus. Now, I don't think I've seen enough Zeus players playing. I watched Matrius playing some Zeus, and I think that's about it. So I don't think I've got a really good grasp on what Zeus is feeling like at the moment. I think Zeus is perfectly fine. I don't think he's a B tier god. I don't think he's an A tier god. I think he's somewhere in the middle. I think he's probably above Hades because I think he has no real weak matchups, with the exception of maybe the Odin and the Thor and everything overcomes this pretty fine. So I don't know. Let's go ahead and pop Gaia up here. I think Gaia is in this A tier at this point because I think she's perfectly fine against nearly everything. God, I don't even know. Loki, I suck with Loki, but Loki, I gotta take another look at this thing over here. Whereas Loki's sitting so high for the entirety of this thing here. Look at this. Loki is sitting so high. He's got 50%. That's in the fourth place here at 1600 plus. 1600 plus. Filter, damn it. He's in the fourth place again at 1600 plus. Wait, he is at fifth place. So he's going down at 1600. They're kind of in this position. So I think we put him in the A tier with all these other gods that are like really close to this 50% mark here in the middle. And maybe Gaia goes at the very top of this right now because I guess we should be doing... Maybe Gaia's actually S tier. Just because, look at this. 55.95%. I can't ignore that. I can ignore the Odin one, but maybe I can't. Maybe Odin comes up here as well. All right. I think Uranus stays here. I don't think Poseidon belongs this far down, but like he's so far down. And maybe I need to knock Ra down a tier as well, to be completely fair. Maybe I need to knock Ra down. And then where's Kronos sitting in this? Kronos is kind of sitting down as well, but I don't think... I mean, I would say Kronos is at least in the B tier here, at least at the top of the B tier. I just knocked Ra all the way down to B tier. I don't think he belongs there. God, this is such a hard tier list. I don't even know. Am I? I don't know, man. I've kind of changed some of this. Okay, so... Is Poseidon that low? No. Is Freyr that low? Wow, Freyr is that low. That's crazy. I don't think Freyr's this bad. I think Freyr's really good. I'm going to pop Freyr up here. I think Freyr's in a really good spot. I don't think Hades is this low. I don't think Ra is this low. I don't know. I'm just going to say everything. Here's my honest opinion. Everything is in the A tier with a couple of things in the S tier. This is a terrible tier list because I just don't know. Anybody? Okay, and now it's the crux of this whole thing. This is the crux of this whole thing. Anybody out there who tells you that they know how good a god is, how balanced this game is, or what the good gods are in this game, has got no clue themselves. Okay? There is only preferences and there is only skill at this point. Sooner or later, players are going to start getting into a meta where they work out what the strongest strategies are for each of the gods, and then we can actually start seeing exactly what's happening. But at the moment, this is kind of what I'm seeing. I'm not sure about these Greek gods being this low. In fact, I still think Hades is perfectly fine and reasonable. I also think that Poseidon and Zeus, well, Poseidon itself is very good into Isis and Set. I think Poseidon is perfectly fine into the Egyptians, but kind of struggling against all the Norses and struggling against the Atlanteans. So while he's in the C tier, he has some really, really good use against these Egyptians. I don't even know if he's in the C tier though, either, because I just don't know. And I'm going to keep saying that I don't know. And I'm going to leave this video saying that I don't know. GG. If you guys enjoyed this one, don't hit the like button because it was a terrible tier list. Tell me in the comments how stupid I am for not knowing anything about this game, regardless of the fact that I've spent nearly over 200 hours playing it so far. And don't tell anyone else to watch this video because it was terrible. All right, see you in the next one.